Hey guys, it's Galaxy Slenderman again, and this time, for my E3 video, I'm going to go over Square-Enix. Mainly because I want to go in order from how I felt like each company did their best at the press conference, from like least to most favorite. And I'm not going to be talking about Bethesda or EA because I'm not too familiar with Bethesda, and EA, I think a lot of people know certain feelings towards EA, not just mine. But there's a reason why some people call them one of the worst video game companies out there. I mean, I believe Activision's the worst, but yeah, whatever. So, you know what? How are my opinions on Square Enix? Let's just get that out of the way right now. I believe they did good, just not amazing. Here's why. They gave us a lot of information on sequels and games we already knew about, which is fine. They had a good balance of new announcements and titles that we already knew were in development. Unlike Nintendo, which felt like they were just mainly talking about games that were already in development, with the exception of Star Fox Zero and Mario and Luigi Paper Jam. And it's kind of Nintendo's mistake, but Square Enix really did better because they were talking more about games we didn't know about, like a new Nier project, a remake of Final Fantasy VII. I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, but the thing is, I kind of wish Square Enix would make new IPs besides just Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts, and stuff like that. Like, I'm not saying completely forget about those games. There's a reason why they continue to make Final Fantasy and Kingdom Hearts games. Because they're successful and a lot of people enjoy them. And, you know, usually when you have a game that's enjoyable and popular, you gotta build onto that. So that's why I feel like, that it's okay that they made a lot of sequels, but I feel like they should also try to announce, like, new faces, for Square Enix. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about the E3. My memory's kind of foggy of this press conference, but it did start with Just Cause 3. Now, for those who don't know, I'm not familiar with Just Cause, and so I might sound like an asshole for saying this, but it kind of looks like a destruction simulator with a story. Now, I'm not saying that's bad. I kind of like the idea of that kind of game. I mean, I know it's probably not that. I probably sound like the biggest dumbass out there, so I'm sorry. I never played Just Cause before, so I can't really say for sure. But with the power of the PlayStation 4 and, like, I'm not sure if it's going to be in other systems either. I can't remember whether or not if it's going to be PS4 exclusive or it's going to be in other systems. I believe it's also going to be on PC, but I can't really remember. Anyway, I believe like this kind of new generation would benefit this kind of game because of how the physics would work and how beautiful the next generation is. It would make the explosions look more realistic and more amazing. I mean, we don't really want like, when it comes to explosions, we want something that will make us go, I want to blow more stuff up and kill more innocent people! I'm gonna go play Grand Theft Auto 5! Anyway, I may not be familiar with Just Cause, but I am looking forward to Just Cause 3, even if I may not get the game. Now, let's go ahead and go to other announcements. They said they're going to make a new Nier game. Now, I've never heard of Nier up until the E3 press conference, so I know people may get like, what the fuck is your problem? You don't know Nier? God, what? Jeez. Next thing you know, you're going to tell me you don't know, like, Earthworm Jim or Bubsy the Bobcat or, like, Alfred Chicken. You don't know Alfred Chicken, you stupid bastard. I know, I'm sorry, okay? Alfred Chicken. Anyway. Now, I have heard that, like, Platinum Games is partnering with Square Enix to create the new Nier title. Which, if you know Platinum Games, they make a lot of action, high combo games, which I love the hack and slash genre, like Devil May Cry, Kingdom Hearts, and Dynasty Warriors. I mean, many people would say it's button mashing, but that's only if you make the game generic. I mean, like, you can also make it so that certain enemies can only be weak to certain attacks or certain buttons. So, yes! And, well, technically, every video game is button mashing. It's just which button you push at which time. You didn't really define button mashing. For all we know, like, all Mario games are technically button mashing. It's just when and how we push the buttons. I'm just saying. Anyway, let's move on to the biggest announcements. Now, some of these were in Sony's press conference, but since this is Square Enix, I'm going to talk about it here as well, and probably I might bring it up in the Sony press conference video. They said there's going to be a new PS4 exclusive game called World of Final Fantasy, which you can either play as a little chibi character or a more human-like, anime-like character. Which I feel like is pretty interesting, but kind of gimmicky at the same time, kind of like those indie games. Like, I'm not bashing indie games, in case people think that I am bashing indie games. I don't like indie games that rely on pixelated views just to get them popular. Like, oh, this game's pixelated, you must get it. Oh, this game switches from 8-bit to 16-bit, you must get it. I mean, that's kind of my thing, but it's also kind of cutesy, and it might not revolve around this kind of aspect, or it might actually make use of it besides just like, hey, you can either be a chibi or a human-like character, choose your poison. It revolves around like the history of Final Fantasy, like chocobos, black mages, Cloud Strife, Warrior of Light from the first Final Fantasy, and that kind of world. And that's why I'm kind of looking forward to it. Then they announced Final Fantasy VII, the remake, which everyone was excited for. This is going to be first on PlayStation 4. I mean, they said at the Sony press conference, so I'm not sure if it's also going to be an Xbox One and PC, and I'm not sure when, but they said PlayStation 4 first, which I think is amazing that they're making Final Fantasy VII a remake in general. I mean, they said like a year ago, I believe, that they're going to make Final Fantasy VII a remake, and then like a few weeks afterwards, they released a trailer for the PC version of Final Fantasy VII, which is just like the PlayStation 1 game, but like HD. I mean, they didn't really change any of the models. They just raised the resolution and put that in the PSN, and everybody was just like, you said you're going to remake Final Fantasy VII, you gave us the PC version, or technically, like, a high-resolution PS1 version, you fucks! And I feel like maybe they were hinting towards this, not the whole re-release thing. Or maybe they were, and they're just like, okay, we fucked up, okay, we're going to give you Final Fantasy VII, just please don't have our heads! And then there's Hitman. I'm not too familiar with Hitman. My sister played Hitman, but once. I am also glad for the Hitman series that it is evolving, and like the fan base can have more enjoyment. Like, just because I'm not familiar with it doesn't mean that everyone else just has to suffer. Like, I don't like it, thus you. Oh, I didn't say I don't like it. I said I'm not familiar with it. So I should have said like, oh, I'm not familiar with, thus you can't have it. And then there was a really, really big announcement. Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, yes, we knew Kingdom Hearts 3 since, I believe, last year, or 2013 was announced in E3, which is kind of odd, because usually Kingdom Hearts games are first announced in Japan. But here we got to see more of a look, and we got to see a new world for Kingdom Hearts 3 being based on Tangle, and more, like, moves Sora can use, like the teacups, like, you know, they use amusement park rides as attacks. And it feels like it's going to be, like, a bigger game than any other Kingdom Hearts game has ever been, with like the combos and whatnot. Kingdom Hearts 1 is just like, and like you were done. And Kingdom Hearts 2 was like, and that was pretty fucking awesome. Kingdom Hearts 3 looks like it's just gonna be like, on like crack cocaine or some shit, which is goddamn amazing. And it looks like they're fully bringing back the drop sequence, you know, where you like jump off walls and shit, because they had the part where Sora had his feet on the wall and the classic drop noise that they had for the 3DS. I feel like instead of just having, like, gymnastics, they're going to bring back the full drop, which is amazing, in my opinion. And it looks beautiful, too. I mean, it was purple in the 3DS, but it doesn't really have to be the same color. It still looks good, nonetheless. I mean, maybe they experimented with purple and that blue looked better. I still think it's only going to be great. Now, many people would just say, oh, it's just hack and slash. Well, like I said, I love hack and slash games. And you can say it's button mashing, but technically, unless you have a fine definition of button mashing, technically all video games are button mashing. It's just when and how you push the buttons. Just saying. So, on a recap, Square Enix did great, just not amazing. Mainly because I feel like they should have announced a new IP, especially if you're going to have a new press conference after God knows how long, because I've heard, so without a source, I can't really say this as fact, but I've also heard that it's been a while since Square Enix had a press conference. So, I feel like they should have announced some kind of new IP than just sequels. But this is good. I feel like it's better than Nintendo's because I already talked about Nintendo's, and I already said enough, and all the Nintendo fans are probably down below. Once again, I myself am kind of a Nintendo fan. Not really like a die-hard Nintendo fan. Just, I play Smash a lot, but not like other Nintendo franchise. I know it sounds weird, but, and you're probably all pissed off at me like, how dare you? Just, how dare you? But, I'm sorry. So anyway, Square Enix did good, just not amazing. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Next video will be either Microsoft or Sony. Which one I think is better will be the last video. Because, like I said, I'm not familiar with Bethesda, and I have feelings towards EA, so I'll see you guys then. And we all see fish in the ceiling at least once in our lives.